Alright, testing. Saying I mean, yeah. It's all good. Alright, so finally we are into the one of the final videos for this term. Okay, now we are going to talk about in this video, chapter 10, price elasticity of demand and supply. Okay, now as a revision, now so what exactly is a price elasticity? Actually, price elasticity measures something. Now we need to go back a little bit to talk about the law of demand first. Now remember, back in the last chapter, we talked about the law of demand or the law of supply. 係咪啊？我哋之前講 law of demand 同 law of supply 啦。Now, what did they say? They say something like this. Law of demand says higher the price, then lower the QD. Law of supply says higher the price, higher the QS. Okay, now you see, according to the laws, they only talk about several things. First, law of demand talks about price and QD. They go in different directions. 唔同㗎係咪啊？ While for law of supply, it says that price and QS, they goes the same direction. Now you see here, we are only concerned with direction, but we are not concerned who goes faster, who goes slower. 我哋只係啊邊個喐邊個方向啫嘛，我哋冇講邊個喐得快啲，邊個喐得慢啲嘅係咪？ So actually, elasticity measures a second thing. We are going to look at these guys. We want to see how fast, okay? How fast? 嗱，記住啦喎。According to the laws, price goes first. Then Q changes second, right? 係咪啊？ Price goes first. So we are going to talk about how fast quantity, which is our second to move, reacts to a change in price. Okay, so that's the idea behind elasticity of demand and supply. Okay, so with that basic idea out of the window, now it's time to really look at the details of elasticity of demand. Now, first of all, you see in our notes, we mentioned we are saying price elasticity because I know some of you, you may have some tutors, it's totally fine. Now, some of your tutors may talk something like cross elasticity or income elasticity. Okay? Now, remember, these two are out of syllabus. So, you just need to know them. You just, as an interest, know them as an interest, not for your exam, not for your syllabus. Okay? Now, here, I've already talked about, we are concerned with the speed of change of QD. Okay, of QD. Okay, 記住啦。Here, price elasticity measures the responsiveness of QD. All right. Now, the formula. Now, I should say the idea is like this. We try to measure the percentage change in QD versus the percentage change in P. Now, let's put it this way. Translate this into English. We are trying to see the percentage change in QD versus the percentage change in P. And we want to see which one goes faster. Okay, now this is the idea, but the important part is actually here. Okay, important part is actually here, the arc elasticity of demand. Okay, now instead of looking directly into this formula, now let us look at something else. We look at one example first. Okay, now example here, we say, suppose the price of textbook increased from 40 to 80. Now in response, the QD changes 2,000 to 100. Okay, now let's calculate two things. Let's calculate first the point elasticity. 嗰一點 and second the arc elasticity。我哋兩樣都計晒啦。Then you will know how come we need arc elasticity, a rather complicated formula. Okay, now let's do point first. Okay, for number 1 point here. 好啦 let's see percentage change in price. 好嘛 percentage change in price will be calculated by new price minus old price divided by old price. 新減舊除舊啦，係咪啊？ I think that would be 100%, right? 係咪啊？ Now, second, percentage change in Q. That will be 100 minus this guy divided by original. Okay, 係咪啊？ Divided by original, and that would make it. Now, let us ignore using absolute value. We ignore the negative sign. I think we would have an answer of 99.5%, something like that, right? 係咪啊？有冇計錯啊？ Okay, I think yes, true. 99.5%. Okay, now so combine. Sorry, I shouldn't put 2 here. Now combining the result, we will see that the point elasticity would then be this one. 99.5 divided by 100. That would be 0.995. Okay, now remember, this is lower than 1. What does it mean? It means that for every percentage here, for every 1% change in price, QD would change by 0.995%. So you see, from this statement, this guy is the slower one, right? This guy moves slower, right? Seems to make sense. Look at the number again. 40 to 80, 2,000 to 100. Now, I think instinctively, you should notice that, well, it doesn't make sense, right? Clearly, Q should be the one moving, I think this two, moving way faster. 係咪啊? It should be the one that moving way faster. Then what happens? Now, it is in fact a mathematical problem. Okay, so 嗱頭先我哋話啦 we just say, right? 40 to 80, 2,000 to 100, right? Now, let's do it the other way around this time. Let's do it the other way around. Let's assume this time we are talking about 80 to 40, then 100 to 2,000. Okay, now, so let's do the percentage changes. Here, percentage change in price would be 新減舊除舊啦. That would make it 50%. Let's ignore the negative. And here, percentage change in Q would be 100. Sorry, to 新減舊除舊. I think this time you will see is right. Now let's compare and contrast the results. Here, let us compare and contrast the results. Now, yes, comparing and contrasting the result. Do you see that going one way and going another way, the result would be vastly different because of one guy, actually two guys, because of this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. 見唔見到分別好大啊? Okay, now because of mathematically, if this guy, the denominator, is different, then the result would be vastly different. You see, go one way, go another way. Now we are talking about, you see, 100 time differences. Okay, so in order to eliminate this discrepancy, okay, discrepancy, what we do now, 頭先我哋話啦 we have two possibilities. We have 80 and 40, right? Now, why don't we take the average of them so that to eliminate this problem, okay? To eliminate this problem. So, to do arc elasticity, what we do, we actually do it another way. You know that? Number two, we calculate the arc. It would be like this. We use percentage change in price. Still the same. 新減舊. Okay? But this time, instead of divided by the original, we do this. Take the average of new and old. Divided by 2. Okay? Now, I think the answer would be this one is 40 divided by 60. 40 divided by 60, around 66%. 66.6%. Right? 係咪啊？ 40除60. Yes. Now, so you see, this time, arc, we actually take the average. Okay? Now, let's do it again. For percentage change in QD, in Q, we will do this. Same. 新減舊, new minus the old one. But this time, instead of divided by the original one, we take the average, which is 2100 divided by 2. Okay, that will be the average. Now, let me do some cheating. I need to use a calculator. Okay, let me do some cheating. Just 2 seconds, okay? Divided by 1550. Sorry. Let me do it again. 1900除1050. Okay, now the answer. This time you will see that we are talking about 181%. Okay, something like that. Now, using this tool, we will see that the arc elasticity would actually be here. 181 divided by 66 would be 2.7 something. Okay, 2.7 something. You see, this time, what does it mean? It means for every 1% change in price, then QD would change by 2.7%. Meaning, this guy this time is the faster one. 係咪啊? This time is the faster one. I think looking at the numbers, it makes much more sense. Right? So, that is why in exam, whenever they ask you to calculate elasticity, it means you calculate the arc elasticity of demand in order to get the answer, because arc elasticity meaning average elasticity, that would eliminate the problem we just have. 係咪啊? It would eliminate the problem we just have. Okay, so that is the basic calculation and definition of elasticity of demand. All right. Now, once we are done with the calculation, it's time to ask ourselves the question. Now, we know the numbers, right? We know how to calculate the numbers, but we ask the questions. Hey, when does the number goes up? When does demand become more elastic, more sensitive? When does it becomes less sensitive? Okay, 好嘛？好啦，嚟啦噃。Here, let's see. Here, let's see. In fact, there are many factors that would affect our elasticity, but the most important ones are the first two. They are basically talking about how do I say? Basically talking about very similar things. Okay. Now the first one we talk about necessity of product. Okay. Now think about it. When something is more necessary, okay, think about it. Is it easy or hard to get rid of? I think you know. Hard to get rid of, right? So when it is hard to get rid of, you will see that it means even the price change, you still cannot change QD for too much. 係咪啊? Cannot change QD for too much. What does it mean? It means that, well, ED would actually drop as it becomes more necessary. Okay? 係咪啊? 所以啦，諗清楚啦噃。Now, products like rice, 你煩啊，係咪啊? Now, you need to have lunch, have dinner. Okay? Every lunch and dinner, most of us will have rice as our main food, right? 係咪啊? So, rice, to a certain extent, they are very necessary. Okay, let's say price of rice right now increases by $20. Okay, by $20. By $20. But still, even if it goes up by $20, you find that you still need to eat, right? So you will eat a little bit less, but you won't get rid of rice immediately. Okay, not so easy, right? So when necessity, okay, I should have written necessity. Sorry for my poor English. Okay, necessity increases, then ED would decreases. Same logic applies to our second point. Okay, now when substitute becomes more, when there are more substitute, then we have more choices. More choices, right? So what do I mean? Let's say we only have one product, rice, only one brand of rice. Then you have no choice. You need to take that brand of rice. 係咪？你係唔係都要食嗰個牌子啦？你走唔甩㗎啦！你係唔係都要食嗰個牌子？冇得走嘅。咁就算加價，你都加唔掂啦。嗱 let's say this time we suddenly have 10 new brands. Then the original brand increases their price. But then you say, hey, I don't eat your rice. I eat other rice. Okay? So with more choices, you find that it's easier to get rid of. 係咪啊? Easier to get rid of. That would means ED would actually go up. Okay, so I say they follow the same logic. Okay, different wordings, but the logic is exactly the same. Okay, exactly the same. Okay, now these two are the most important ones. So make sure you know what we are talking about in here. All right, now moving on. Now, another point that is, how do I say, not so important, kind of like a logic, okay, kind of like a moot point, is that you look at the proportion of income, as opposed to the change in price. Okay, now let me give you two examples. Okay, let's say now we increase by $1. Okay, now in one case, the original price is $1. Okay, now it becomes $2. So this is 100% increase. 係咪聽到 100%？ 即係貴咗一倍啊？係咪有啲痛啊？ As opposed to original price, this one. Now I raise $1. It's only 0.01% increase. Not a lot, not a terribly lot, right? 0.01%. So you see, the lower the proportion here, the lower the proportion, the less likely people would care. Okay, basically, the percentage to income decreases. Then you see, people would actually less likely to care. When they don't care, it means that ED would drop because they don't care, right? They don't quite care. They don't want to change here. no need to change, no need to get rid of, right？係咪啊？唔使撇甩佢啊 ，no need to get rid of. Okay, so proportion of income. Now here, another similar point would be price range. Okay, would be price range. Now it goes by the same logic. Okay, it goes by the same logic. 係咪啊？ Now here, I should have said in this way. This is our wealth. 我身家得1蚊，你而家加我1蚊，其實你食晒我成副身家。我身家1萬蚊，你而家加我1蚊，其實淨食咗0.1% 啫嘛。Now it follows the same logic. Here, let's say again, increase by 1%. Okay, increase by 1%. Here, if the original price $1 versus again this, then you see, yeah, this is 100% increase. This is a 0.01% increase. Okay, so you see, the higher the price range with the same increase in price, it actually means lower percentage. Okay, percentage lower. So here, price range, meaning lower percentage change. So ED would decrease. Not so hurt, right? Not so painful. 係咪？唔係加咗好多啫嘛，0.01% 啫嘛 ，right? Follows the same logic here. Now, final three. This one is easy. Think about it. With more time, then more time meaning easier to find substitute. When easier to find substitute, it means that, well, ED would increases. 係咪啊？ The more able people can adjust. Okay, 得唔得？ So this one easy. Now, more users. Now think about it. When the number of users increase, the number of affected market would also increase. When affected market increases, then meaning more people react, more reaction. When more reaction, it means that ED would goes up. 係咪啊？咁嘅意思啫嘛。So let us not waste too much time here. Now, final one, I'm not going to explain, just recite it. More durable, more elastic. I'm not going to explain, okay? Just recite this one. Don't even bother to understand because it doesn't make sense, but just recite it, okay? Alright, so let's move on to some real examples first. Okay, we look at some examples before we look at graphs. Okay, let's do some real examples. Here, 1997, question 9. Now it says, the price elasticity of demand of this cross-harbor tunnel would decrease. Now, we need ED to decrease. Now, meaning, we need people to be less sensitive. Or it means harder to get rid of. Harder to get rid of. Okay, so let's see which one. Now first, tunnel fee is raised from 10 to 30. 呢個唔關事啊 right? Out of all the factors we talk about, we never talk about a change in price, right? So it doesn't make sense. Okay, it's irrelevant. Second, Western Harbor Crossing is open. Now here, there will be more substitute. When there are more substitute, you should find that it's easier to get rid of a cross-harbor tunnel. So actually, ED would increase, not the answer we want. The Eastern Harbor Crossing is closed. It's just the opposite of B, right? So C is the answer. Now D, a new hydrofoil service is provided between Ch.10 and 灣仔，係嘛？荃灣同灣仔大家知應該過海啊。Here, crossing the harbor. Now basically, this is exactly the same as B. Okay, so D is also not correct. Also about substitute. 係咪啊？多咗選擇啊，係咪啊？所以咪容易啲 ，easier to get rid of, right? So here, Next question, let us skip it. We wait for the final section to talk about it, okay? Here, which of the following would increase the elasticity of demand of the transport of MTR? We need ED for MTR to increases, which means easier to get rid of, 係咪啊? Easier to get rid of. Okay, get rid of. 我哋容易啲撇甩佢啊。Okay, now here, the cutting of bus lines running similar routes 係咪啊？喂，咁唔會啦。When you cut it, it actually means substitute decreases. Harder to get rid of. Okay, A is not the answer. Now, B, decrease in fare. Again, this is a change in price. Irrelevant as to our elasticity. Okay. Now C, the opening of new lines of KCR running similar routes of those of MTR 係咪啊？咦，如果嗱 some historical problem. Okay, remember at that time, MTR and KCR, they are still two different companies. Okay, now here, if we have a new line, meaning there would be substitute. Therefore, elasticity would increases. C, the answer that we want. Okay, a decrease in the operating cost, that would only means a drop, an increase in supply, but nothing to do with ED, right? Irrelevant. All right, next one. Now suppose an increase in the demand for good Y results in a 10% and a 5% change in the price and quantity transacted respectively. Okay, now here, let's look at it. Now, this time we are going to use our two-layer approach, okay? Two-layer approaches to approach this question. Now, first of all, let's write it out. Price change by 10%. Q change by 5%. So, the first layer here, we know this would be inelastic for one simple reason. Do you see? Q is moving slower than price. Inelastic. Now, but a good question here we have. Inelastic demand or inelastic supply. That's the problem. Okay, now that's the problem. Now here, let's look at it. An increase in demand. When demand increase, then P increase, Q increase. When P and Q goes in the same direction, it follows the law of supply. Therefore, the second layer, we know that this is actually an inelastic supply. Inelastic supply. 係咪啊? So, unfortunately, both A and B wouldn't be relevant because both of them are about elasticity of demand. 係咪啊? No close substitute and habit forming good. Okay? Both of them would result in inelastic demand. 係咪啊? Inelastic demand, both of them. But we know we want inelastic supply. Okay? Inelastic supply. So the answer here actually is D. Okay? Now don't worry. We will look at these two again in later section. Okay? Now next one would reduce elasticity of demand for air express. So we need ED for air express to decreases, right? This is what we want. Now here, there are more airport bus routes to different districts. Now, if there are more different buses, 係咪啊？有唔同嘅巴士 then it means more substitute. More substitute, easier to get rid of. ED increases. Not the answer we want. Vans are not allowed to pick up. 呢個咪倒轉咯，係咪啊? This means substitute would decrease. ED would decrease. Okay? Fare, remember, change in price irrelevant 係咪啊 ？This is a change in price irrelevant. Maintenance cost increase that only touches supply decreases. But what happens to ED? How do I know? Alright, 得唔得啊 ？Okay, moving on. Let's see. Yes, here. Now 2016, we are going to look at another questions that requires our 2-layer approach. Actually, this time we have 3 layers, not just 2 layers. Okay, now here, a decrease in 我哋睇先 5%, 10% in price and Q respectively. Let's write it out first. P would be a 5%. Q would be a 10%. So our first layer, we already know this is an elastic because Q moves faster, 係咪 elastic. Now the problem is elastic what? Demand or supply? Now let's go back a little bit. A decrease in the cost 咩意思啊 Cost decrease, supply increase. I think you remember that. When supply increases, price goes down, Q goes up, right? Here, when one goes down, one goes up, it follows the law of demand. Okay, so we know we are asking for elastic demand. Now this question, it asks for a 3rd layer. We need to see what kind of factors, 係咪啊 What factors would make demand elastic? Okay? Now, I think I just said, I won't explain this. Just recite. More durable. More elastic. A is the answer we want. Okay? No close substitute. Just the opposite. Okay? Just the opposite. ED goes down. C and D, firms excess capacity and factors of production. I think you already see. Factors of production, excess capacity. These two has to do with ES, elasticity of supply, not demand. So both of them are not the answer we want. Okay, because we are following the law of demand, not the law of supply. 得唔得? Right, so finally, here, tobacco duty is an indirect tax in Hong Kong. Okay, now basically you just need to know for our purpose. For our purpose, it's simple. Indirect tax will make supply decrease. When supply decrease, P increase, Q decreases. Okay, now an economist stated, other things being constant, the rise in tobacco duty rate would not effectively reduce the quantity consumed. 嗱，即係咩意思啊 This sentence is saying, even if price goes up a lot, would only result in Q dropping a little bit. Okay, now we need to give some explanation. Now basically you already see, 係咪啊 The first thing you need in your answer, 係咪 First thing you need in your answer, you should say the elasticity of demand for tobacco is low or two comes here inelastic. Okay, now this is our first point. Second, we need to explain why it is inelastic. Because of addiction. 吸煙會上癮啊，係咪啊 ？Addiction here, addiction leading to inelastic demand. Okay, addiction， 因為上癮啊，所以啊就 inelastic 啦。Therefore, even if tax goes up, Q would only goes down by very little. 只跌少少啊！就算你 tax 係咁上升 ，Q 只會跌少少啊。OK， That's what the economist said, right? 係咪啊？嗰個經濟學家咪咁講咯。Okay, so that would be all for examples concerning factors related to elasticity of demand. So next, we are going to go back into the graphical representation and the graphical application of elasticity of demand. Now, here, let us revise a little bit. There are several types of, two general types of elasticity first. Okay, now, the two general types are when elasticity is bigger than 1 and elasticity smaller than 1. Okay, now this guy, we call it elastic demand. This one, we call it inelastic demand. Now, in general, there are two types. Now, think about it. How do we represent them graphically? 我哋望一望啦，究竟點樣可以 graphically 去做呢件事啦 ？Here, now remember, some times ago, when I teach demand and supply, I ask you to draw demand curve. Always draw this slope. Don't do something funny like this. Don't do funny things like this. No, don't do it. Don't do it. You always close out the demand curve with the x and y intercept. And then let's assume this is the midpoint. Let us assume, okay, this is the midpoint. Here, from graphical perspective, in fact, it looks like this. The portion above midpoint, we call this elastic demand. These are all elastic portion. The portion below, these are all inelastic portion. Okay, now basically, here meaning ED bigger than 1. Here meaning ED smaller than 1. Right? The midpoint would then be exactly the point when elasticity of demand equals to 1. At this point only, okay? At this point only. Okay? Now, at this point only. Now, you may be thinking, how come we need this graph? How come? Because we need to go to another section. Let's skip a little bit. Let's go into page 6, okay? Page 6. Because we need to talk about total expenditure in relation to elasticity of demand. Okay, now remember, I keep saying, when price goes up, according to the law of demand, Q goes down. Okay, but then we remember, total expenditure equals to P times Q. One go up, one go down. What happens to TE? We do not know until we know the elasticity of demand. Okay, 嗱，唔該自己寫清楚啊。Demand only. ES irrelevant. Okay, irrelevant. 聽唔聽到 ？Irrelevant 唔關事。ES 得唔得 ？Only elasticity of demand. Only 得唔得 ？Okay, now so let's do some examples here. 嗱。Let us assume price goes up for the following diagrams. Price goes up for the following diagram. Now, before you draw diagram, we use our kindergarten logic to do some mathematical deduction first. First step, don't even think about it, right? TE equals to P times Q. TE equals to P times Q. Okay, for both boxes. Then second step, now don't question. Now we are saying price goes up. Now, and remember, according to the law of demand and law of supply, P goes first. So, when it goes up, we draw 2 up arrow. Now, don't ask why. You will know soon. 2, 畫咗先啦，冇諗啦。Okay, now, by definition, when demand is elastic, it means that Q would go faster, 係咪啊？ Go faster than price. So we draw 3 arrows down to represent faster, right? 係咪啊 faster? So let us do some let us do some kindergarten mathematics. 2 up, 2 down, cancel them out. But we still have 1 down left. Therefore, the whole equation, total expenditure, would actually go down. 得唔得？嚟多次 ，price 行先啊嘛，係咪 ？By definition, elastic demand 即係 Q 係喐得快啲啊嘛。咁我哋咪話3個箭嘴俾佢咯。佢2個升，我咪3個跌咯。小學數學可以約走佢，係咪啊？但係我哋約走完，仲有一隻跌，咁即係呢邊會跌咯，係咪啊 ？So this is the logic. When we translate into English, it means that when demand is elastic, an increase in price would ultimately lead to a decrease in TE. 得唔得 ？Okay, this is the way we talk about it. Now, graphically, we draw like this. Remember, don't do anything funny with the slope. Just do this. This is our demand. Sorry, demand. Okay. Now, give yourself a midpoint. Okay. Let's call it here is the midpoint. Now, we want to draw the increase in price in the elastic portion. Remember, above is the elastic portion. So what you do, you take out your hands, cover this part. 真係㗎，考試咁做 ，cover this part. Then you draw the increase in price in the upper part. Okay. Now, once you get the price right, go back down. Q1, Q2. Okay. Now, think about it. Think about it. Here, when P1 increases to P2, price increase. Okay, price increase. Are you spending more or spending less? Of course, you're spending more. When price increase, you spend more money, right? So this part is the part that we increase in TE or we call gain. But you are buying fewer of the goods, right? Buying fewer. So when Q decreases, TE decreases, right? So this whole part is the loss part. Clearly, gain is smaller than loss. That would mean, sorry, I should have used the other pen. Okay, gain is lower than loss, meaning TE would decrease, ultimately decrease, right? Loss is decrease, decrease, increase, right? So ultimately, TE would decrease. 得唔得？ This is the logic. Now let's do it again using inelastic demand. Now this time, again, we already have 2 arrows here. Inelastic demand, by definition, it means that Q would go down. Slower. 係咪？唔係 down 咁簡單 ，slower 慢啲啊嘛，係咪啊 ？So kindergarten logic 係咪啊 ？Kindergarten logic, we remove one, we still have an upward arrow. So TE would increase, right? Let's see, let's check it. Let's do it again. Here, again, don't do anything funny with the slope of the demand. Here we have a demand curve, midpoint around here. So what you do, you use your, we want it inelastic part. This is our inelastic part. So what you do, you use your hand, cover this part up. Then you draw the increase in price in the lower part, P1 to P2 increase. Then you also give me back the Q1 and Q2. Again, hide the price, meaning you are spending more money here. This is our gain part. But buy fewer, meaning you are spending less money. Here, clearly, gain is greater than loss. That would imply total expenditure would ultimately increase in line with our logic. Now, comparing these two diagrams, you see, I didn't do anything funny with the slope. I only control it to be upper or lower part, right? I almost control the same. Price, increase in price is almost the same. You see, it is the upper portion and lower portion that would ultimately determine whether gain is bigger or loss is bigger. So again, I know some of you may have some tutorial teachers teach you to draw this or this. Now forget about it. Trust me, forget about it. If you keep this way, you'll be very painful when it comes to chapter 12, okay? When it comes to chapter 12, you will be very painful, trust me. Okay? 得唔得啊? Now, with that clear, now we are ready to go back to look at the extreme cases. Let us go back to page 3, okay? The extreme cases. Alright, let us start with the easy one. Perfectly inelastic demand. Now, when we talk about perfectly inelastic demand, we are talking about when ED is exactly equals to 0 for the whole curve. Okay, now let us translate it into English. It means that even when price changes, no matter how price changes, Q will just stay the same. No change, stay the same. Okay, so the way we draw it is actually not too difficult. Since we say Q won't change, no matter what price, let's say $10, let's say $100, let's say $1,000, no matter what price, Q will stay the same. Then that would be a vertical line, okay, vertical. Okay, now if you know this, then it will be very easy to do an exact opposite, perfectly elastic demand when it is out, when elasticity of demand is exactly equals to infinite. Okay, now what does it mean? It means that any change in price would result in 0， 係咪啊？ any 任何變動即刻變零。 Okay, any changes would be 0. Okay, so just the opposite of perfectly inelastic. You will have a horizontal curve. Okay, horizontal demand curve. Now, the clumsiest one, the funniest one, okay, would be unitarily elastic demand. Okay, unitarily elastic demand. Here, how does it look like? Now, I'm not going to into the mathematical reasoning. It would look like this. A curve. Really, a curve. Okay, now I'm not going to go into the mathematical detail. Okay, if you want to know, ask your mathematics teacher. Okay, now remember, except the extreme cases, do not touch the slope, which I've talked about it again and again and again and again and again. Okay, now let us look at these extreme cases. What happens when there is a price change? What happens to total expenditure? Again, don't even think about it. Write it down. Don't even think about it. Right now， 寫咗先啦。 Here also, TEP times Q. Right, first. Here, let's do the obvious case of perfectly inelastic demand. Okay, now again, we are still sticking with increase in price. By definition, does Q change? No, by definition, it doesn't change. Therefore, the overall result, there will be nothing to cancel out. These guys, TE would increase. Okay, now to draw it, very simple. would be something like this. This is our demand, right? Now, originally P1. Now we are up to P2 without any loss in quantity. Without any loss in quantity. So the only part here, since it's more expensive, you will be spending more money. This is gain. Okay, so TE would actually increases. Okay, that's how we draw it. Now, on the other hand, perfectly elastic demand. Okay, here. Now this time, by definition, this guy would become 0. Now, let me ask you a question. Something times 0, what would it become? The whole equation must be 0. Okay? So basically, it means TE would drop so much that it becomes 0. Okay? Now, let's see how we represent it. P, Q, we have a horizontal demand. Now this is our P1. Let's say originally, now this time we need a supply curve to help. We need a supply curve as an assistant. Okay. Now originally we have Q1. Okay, originally. Now let's say the price increases to P2. You see that in P2 there is actually no demand curve at all. No demand curve, no intersection, 0 intersection, 冇任何 intercept 喺度㗎。So actually, quantity would become all the way to 0. Right, you see, increase in price but nothing to gain. Lose in quantity, you lose everything. So here, this part would be the whole of our loss. TE would actually become 0 in this case. Okay, that's how we draw it. Now finally, one thing I miss out. When we say unitarily elastic demand, we are saying when ED equals to 1. For the whole curve, not just one point, but whole curve. Whole curve 1 here, okay? Whole curve ED equals to 1. So, what happens? Here, when ED equals to 1, by definition, it means that Q will move the same amount, same percentage, 同一個 percent as that of P. So, cancel them out. You see, no increase, no decrease. TE would actually remains the same. Now this one is the most difficult to draw. I try my best, okay? I try my best. Okay, now let's say this is our P1, this is our P2. Now let's imagine. Now I know it is not, but imagine gain and loss are exactly the same. So TE remains unchanged. Let's just imagine. This one is too difficult to be drawn by hand. We need a computer to do that. Okay? So these are the logic. Remember, when you try to determine under what situation TE would increase, decrease, always start with this formula. Okay? TE equals to P times Q. You always start with this formula. Okay? Now, I suggest we should do some exercise. Okay? Some mathematical exercise to consolidate our TE equals to P times Q logic. Now, to be efficient, this time, unlike in our classes, I'll do it the other way around. Now, remember, whenever you need to determine the price elasticity of demand from this kind of table, you follow 2 steps. First step, you check whether P, Q, or TE remains unchanged. Okay? Because if there is anything unchanged, that would mean P unchanged, if P remains unchanged, that would be perfectly elastic. If Q remains unchanged, that would be perfectly inelastic. TE remains unchanged by definition. That would mean unitarily elastic. Okay, these three extreme cases. Now, otherwise, you go to step 2. You always write out TE equals to P times Q, and then do our double up or double down thing. Okay, 得唔得? So let us use this framework and quickly be done with this question. Now, first of all, P, Q, okay, P and Q here, 係嘛？點解 P and Q both are changing? What about TE? Let's do some calculation quickly. This will be 270. 大家撳下機先啦，等我一陣嚇。Wait a little bit. Wait a little bit. 270. 522. And also finally here. Okay. Now, as you see, write out TE equals to P times Q. You see right now, you get TE as price goes up in this way, TE is also going up. That would mean to balance out this equation, Q will need to drop. Now, you see, Q is moving slower than P. We call this inelastic demand. Okay, 得唔得? So, okay, now some of you may be asking, hey, can I actually use arc elasticity to calculate? Yes, you're welcome to try. You're only wasting your time. You see, we do multiplication. It's way easier than doing arc elasticity percentage things. Okay, so let's just stick with our 2-step. Okay, now second table again, P changing, Q changing. Let's do TE. Okay, do 96 and 30. Here, right now, TE equals to P times Q, right? As price goes up, TE goes down. To balance out this equation, you need this guy to go down by 3, right? So, here you will see, we call this elastic demand since Q is moving faster, right? 嗱係咪容易好多啊？容易過你用 arc elasticity 係咪呢個方法快好多啊 ？Okay, so let's continue. Now this time they give you P and TR. Now TR basically equals to TE. Okay, TE price TE. So this one even easier, right? Because immediately 你話使唔使計翻個 Q 出嚟啊 ？No, no need. You don't even need to calculate Q because here price goes up. Price goes up. TE goes down. Okay. Here to balance out, you need Q to be moving faster. Immediately, this is the answer we want. This is an elastic demand. 係見唔見啊？用呢種方法係咪快好多啊？你見到嗱 ，also I think it's obvious that Q doesn't remain the same, right? Here, 30. This is not 30, right? I think immediately you see. Same here. Q, AR. What is AR? Average revenue, meaning each unit sell for how much? 咪即係 price 咯，有咩分別啊 ？price 咯。So here. We have P, we have Q. Let's work out the TE. 270, 270, 270. You see, right? Now, here, as price goes down, TE remains the same. Write out TE equals to P times Q. As price goes down, TE remains unchanged. 其實你已經完咗啦。TE unchanged. What does it mean? immediacy here 其實唔使添啦。Immediacy it means this one will be unitarily elastic. Okay, 得唔得？ Now finally, the two tables here. Finally, P and TR. Now let's work out the Q. 10, 10, 10. Well, in the table, Q unchanged. What does that mean? Q unchanged. Immediacy. By definition, this is perfectly inelastic. By definition. As opposed to another side here. Q and TR, TE, okay? Meaning price will be 10, 10, and 10. When price remains unchanged, by definition, ED would be infinite. Our perfectly elastic demand. By definition, okay? So remember, when we try to do questions on this type of determination of price elasticity, follow two steps. First step, check whether P, Q, or TE remains unchanged, because those would belong to extreme cases. Then, if no extreme cases, just use TE equals to P times Q, this logic, to determine it. Okay, 係咪啊？ Now, this is much easier than calculating your arc elasticity of demand, as you see. Alright, so moving on to some past paper examples. Alright, past paper questions. Here we go. Now, the first one, 1995. Okay, now I know many of you were saying, hey, this is a curve. We remember only in the case of unitarily elastic demand, then you have a curve. Okay, now this time you are lucky, it's correct. Okay, now but remember, you must in exam check. You must check. 一定要 check 咩啊？ Check the TE. In this case, TE1 when $1, 120. TE2, 120. TE3, 120. You see, it doesn't change. So it is a unitarily elastic demand. I can actually, this curve, I can actually do one thing. Then the whole thing will be messed up. I shift it parallelly. Parallel shift. Then I think immediately you see what the problem would be. Okay? 我幾時候話個 demand 一定係打直㗎？我幾時一定話直線啊？ I never say demand curve has to be a straight line, right? I only say it's downward sloping. I never say it must be a straight line, right? So you see, next time you need to check. This one will be completely messed up. Okay, would completely mess up your answer. Okay, so next time remember to check. Second, if there is a poor harvest of rice in Thailand, the total expenditure in Hong Kong. Now, 睇住啦喎 poor harvest of rice meaning supply decreases, 係咪？ Supply decreases meaning price increase, Q decreases. So what happened to TE? What happened to TE? How do I know? Without knowing the elasticity, how do I know? So, A, increase because no. Decrease, no. More or less the same, how do I know? So D is the answer. May increase or decrease depending on elasticity. Okay, 得唔得？ D is the answer. Here, next one. Now suppose MTR. Now let's do it. 嗱有啲麻煩啊今次。X, let's start with X first. X is like this. P for X, it says a 6.9% increase. Then Q decrease for 8%. For Y, P increased by 13.6%. Q decreases for 3.5%. Here, you will see, for X, elasticity of demand greater than 1, elastic, Here, elasticity of demand smaller than 1 in inelastic because Q moving slower, Q moving faster. Okay, so here, I think you can see, first of all, one is elastic, another one is inelastic. So A and B are both wrong. Answer should be X is more elastic than Y. D is the answer that we want. OK， 因為見㗎大過一同細過大過一定大過細過一啦嘛，係咪啊 ？OK， so that's the answer we want. So next one, sample paper. Now we use our two-layer approach again. 好嘛 ，two-layer approach again. Here it says price changed by 20%. QT increases from 2,000 to 800, right? 見唔見到啊 ？So here, how many percentage change 係咪啊？幾多 percent 啊變咗 ？You see here, this is a 40% change 係咪啊？40% change. So here, first layer, we already know this is an elastic. 好，問題就係 elastic what? Because we don't know how price change, right? Now here, it says tend to buy more high facial cream 係咪嗰啲保濕啊係咪啊 ？Meaning demand will increase. When demand increases, it means that price also increases. Therefore, you see, it actually follows the law of supply because both goes the same way 係咪啊 ？Follows the law of supply. So this is an elastic supply. Answer C. Okay, C is the answer that we want. Okay, 嗱係咪啊？你發覺啦，做下啦 ，it's actually getting easier and easier, not as difficult as we have expected, right? 係咪啊？ Now let us continue. Now we go to practice paper. Now suppose there is a political no. Let's do it this way. Two-layer approach. 30% increase. P increase 30%. Q change 15%. First layer, we know this is what we call inelastic. Alright, now second layer, we need to deal with this guy. We only know change, but we don't know how to change. Okay, now suppose there is political unrest in exporting crude oil, 係咪啊 ？Crude oil， 即係咩意思啊？如果 export 嗰啲人出口嗰啲人 unrest 啊 ，so supply would decrease. When supply decrease, price increases, but Q would decrease. So here, since they go in different directions, they follow the law of demand. We know that. This is an inelastic demand. B is the answer that we want. 嗱，見唔見啊？其實你做呢個咧 two-layer approach 做下，你發覺喂好容易啫，係咪啊？嗱 here next one. Michelle said, "I will spend all my monthly salary no matter what price." This means no matter how price changes, something will remain unchanged, and that will be her monthly salary. Monthly salary 啦 ，correspond 對咩邊個啊 ？Correspond to total expenditure. Total expenditure unchanged by definition C. 唔嘥咁多時間啦，好嘛 ？Next one. Here it says QT. Q falls by 40%. Price increase by 13%. We know this is an elastic. Also, increase decrease. Follows what? What does it follow? Here, it follows law of demand. This is an elastic demand. 係咪啊？呢個係 elastic demand 嚟㗎，應該係。Okay, so let's see what happens. Quantity demanded falls, of course. P increases, QD decreases by the law of demand. One is correct. Okay. Now 2, total expenditure rises. Now let's write it out. TE equals to P times Q. Right here, you see, P increases this amount, but Q is decreasing more. So, by our kindergarten logic, actually, we have one decrease left. Actually, TE would decrease, so 2 is not correct. We already see the answer here. Number 3, demand for imported vegetables rises. Why? Because QD of local decreases. Demand for imported would increase for one reason. Substitute. They are substitute, right? So 3 is correct. 好啦, now, when demand for imported increases, both price and quantity would increase, meaning TE must increase. 一定升緊, not may rise or fall. This is not correct here. May rise or fall is not correct because must increase. Oh, so number 4 is not correct. 得唔得? Here they give you diagram. Okay, P1 to P2, Q1 to Q2. Now, here, total revenue. No. Here, raise the price. Oh, actually, this one. Let's skip it. You don't know yet. You don't know yet. Okay, let's skip it. Okay, you don't know yet. Sorry for putting here. Now, here, the table shows the relationship between price and total expenditure. 哇，呢個容易啦. Now, remember, we say, whenever you do this, you follow 2 steps. First, you see whether price, quantity, or TE remains unchanged. Obviously, price increasing, TE increasing. But what happens to Q? 5, 5, 5, 5. So, by definition, because we are at here, Q 冇變啊. By definition, this is perfectly inelastic. 係咪啊? By definition, this is perfectly inelastic. When perfectly inelastic, it means it's equals to 0. Okay, 0. 係咪啊? 絕對零啊. Alright, now next one. This one we have done already, right? This one I think we have done already. Now let's look at these 2 options. Now we know answer is here, right? But let's look at these 2 options. 嗱，頭先我哋應該記得啦. This is an elastic demand, right? This is an elastic demand, right? I think we have done this, right? 係啦, elastic demand. No. We skip it. We've done it already. Now, next one. There are 2 statements. First statement, we call this 1. We call this 2. First statement, it says, no matter how price change, I always buy the same amount of coffee, Q unchanged. So, this is perfectly inelastic. Second statement, no matter how price change, I always spend the same amount of money, TE remains unchanged. By definition, this is unitarily elastic. So, answer, perfectly inelastic, unitarily elastic. 係咪? Now, as we go on, do you see that? It actually gets easier and easier, and to be completely honest, more and more boring. Because, really, price elasticity, this chapter, no creativity. OK， 但係真係冇乜新意㗎，做嚟做去3幅皮㗎，得唔得啊? Alright, moving on. Here, let's do some long question and short question. Okay, now here we have 2 statements. Let's call this statement 1, statement 2. Now, statement 1 saying that price cut will reduce our total revenue. 即係咩意思啊? Statement 1, when P decreases, TE decreases. Now, under what condition? Let us use our ultimate equation. TE equals to P times Q. Now, we know price would decrease. We also know TE would increase. Now, would decrease, right? To balance out this equation, we know that Q would increase by 1 arrow. So cancel out, you see, 係嘛? From this, we know this is an inelastic demand. 呢個咪 inelastic 咯，係咪啊? Inelastic demand. Here, we need to explain using separate diagram. So here, diagram. 係咪啊? Diagram. Now, think about it. When I say inelastic demand, I keep saying, don't do anything funny with the slope. Here, let's give ourselves the midpoint. Inelastic, the portion below. So, take out your hand, cover up the above part. We draw a decrease in price. P1 to P2. Okay, then Q1 to Q2. Since you are having a lower price, you are spending less. This is our loss. You are buying more, you are spending more. Gain. Clearly, loss is greater than gain here, meaning total expenditure would decrease, right? So the condition is that we need inelastic demand. What does it mean? Inelastic demand, meaning the decrease in price would be more than the percentage increase. Okay, comparing this, percentage decrease in price is bigger than the percentage increase in quantity. Therefore, total expenditure finally would drop. Okay, hold on. This is a first statement. Second statement, it says, even if we do not cut our price, total sales revenue will still decrease when others cut theirs. Others. When others cut, the logic is this. Let's call others. P of others decrease. QD of others increase. Now, since me and others are substitute, 係咪應該好熟啦? You see, demand for us will actually decrease. 係咪? When demand of us decrease, clearly Q decrease, TE decreases. Okay, now, 你話咁 P 去邊啊? Now, think about it. They say, even if we do not cut our price, meaning P would remain unchanged. So, P unchanged, Q decrease, meaning TE would decrease. Okay, now let's draw it using a diagram. Here. Originally, the situation with a supply. Now, sorry. Here, remember, when a question only asks you TE, no need to draw supply curve. Here, we are doing some shift in demand, so make sure you also have your supply curve helping you. Okay, this is our D1. Okay, now let's say original price P1. Let's keep it this way. Now demand decreases to here. Let's keep P1. Therefore, the new quantity, if we keep at P1, will be here. Would be here. You see, there will be some surplus, something like that, some surplus. Okay, that is why even if we do not cut our price, we remain the same. You see, since you are buying less, actually you have a loss here. TE would drop because of the loss. Okay, 得唔得? This is how we explain substitute relationship. Demand decrease, P unchanged, Q decrease. Okay, 得唔得? This is how we explain these two statements. I think this is a good question for revision. Make sure you revise this question. Okay, Now, one more thing to talk about. Number 2, does that depends on elasticity of demand? No, because right now we have a shift in demand. It does not require the application of elasticity of demand， 得唔得啊？因為而家啊，睇住啊，一個唔變一個點啊嘛。When do you need elasticity? You only need it when price and quantity goes in a different direction. Here, no different direction. Okay, so let us continue. Here, next question. Here it says price increase. Okay, price increases. Now, then we need to explain under what situation TE would increase. So let's write it out. You know, they told you P increase, 係咪啊? Then we need TE to fall. Okay, draw here. To balance this equation, we need Q to move faster. So we call this elastic demand. When we are saying elastic demand, to explain it using words, we are saying that the percentage increase in price is lower than the percentage decrease in quantity. Therefore, TE would ultimately drop. Now to draw a diagram, easy. This is an easy one. Okay, draw a diagram. Elastic, 我哋而家係 elastic 啊嘛 ，right? Elastic. So normal demand curve, midpoint elastic. Just cover this part. We need price to increase. So let's draw P1, P2. Increase the price. Q1, Q2. OK， 升咗啦，價貴咗係咪使多咗錢啊？但係啦，買少咗咪使少咗錢咯。Here you see clearly gain is lower than loss, meaning TE would ultimately decreases, which is in line with our answer. Okay, now this one is too easy. Let's not waste too much time here. Now finally, we move on to the last page of our examples. Alright, here, kind of like your LS, right? Not unlike your LS. Now here, the important thing is that it says the fare increased by 5.4%. Okay, now under what condition total expenditure would increase because of rise in fare? So let's use our invincible formula. TE equals to P times Q. Now we know fare increases. Now we need to rise. We need increase here. To balance that out, we know, well, Q can only drop by 1. We call this inelastic demand. 係咪? Inelastic demand. Now, diagram, too easy. I'm not going to waste your time here. Way too easy. This is our midpoint. Okay, now inelastic, so cover this up. P1, P2, Q1, and Q2. Okay, now this one. This is our gain. This is our loss. Clearly, gain bigger than loss, meaning TE would increase. 係咪？哇，都唔知幾多錢 OK。Now, final question. Here, based on table 1, we can conclude that increase in total revenue. Here, 睇啦 P increases. Total revenue or total expenditure also increases, right? Is a result of inelastic demand for local MTR services, right? Now, looks tempting. Now, don't copy. Looks tempting, right? TE equals to P times Q. Looks tempting. You can say, well, price increases. TE increases when we have an inelastic demand 係嘛？好 make sense 喎 This one very make sense, right? Plus, we all know that MTR not much substitute, right? 冇乜 substitute 係咪啊 Not many substitute. So it tends to be inelastic. 聽到好吸引啊，係咪啊 Unfortunately, it is all wrong. 好吸引嘅答案，但係唔啱啊？點解啊 ？Now you look at the table. Logic, formula logic, Q decreases, right? Is Q decreasing? No, actually, Q is also increasing here. You see, P increase, Q increase. Therefore, TE increases. When can this happen? There can only be one situation. When demand for MTR increases. Okay, so unfortunately, this is incorrect for one reason. Because right now, both P and Q are increasing. That would mean demand also increases. 係咪其實佢代表 demand increase 咗啊 Therefore, when demand increases, we have no conclusion about elasticity of demand. 我哋係唔知道 ED 係點樣㗎。So diagram wise, it only goes like this. 好容易嘅啫。Since this is an increase in demand, supply originally, D1, D2, okay, originally, P1, Q1, P2, Q2, 係咪啊 You see, these are the increase in this one. These are the increase in TE. Just like this, okay? Just like this. Not too many things. 所以嗱，記住啊，唔好係唔係都睇，唔好係唔係都睇 elasticity. You need to judge the direction first. When it goes the same way, it has nothing to do with elasticity of demand. Okay, so that would also conclude our teachings on elasticity of demand. Now, finally, we are ready to go into elasticity of supply, which I must say very easy. Okay, 嗱 ，arc 都係自己寫翻啦，我唔理啦，自己參翻 arc 係咩啦，係咪啊？嗱 ，here sorry, supply. This one, supplied. Basically, the same definition. It measures how quickly QS changes with respect to price. Okay, 好嘛？記住啦 ，same percentage, not value. Now, the more important is actually about the factors affecting ES. When would your supplier become more sensitive? When would it become less sensitive? Now, we talk about flexibility. Okay, now mainly when we have reserve, 係咪啊 more reserve, meaning easier to adjust. Easier to adjust. When it is easier to adjust, it means you can react faster. So ES increases. Now this one I won't waste your time here. Also, the same logic. More time. Then you have more preparation. More preparation. Meaning, you can react easier. ES increases. Finally, entry barrier. It means the seller. There will be more seller. When there are more seller, let's say the market needs 10,000 more units. 佢要多10000件。係咪多啲 seller 容易啲去 meet 到嗰個 demand 啊 ？Right? So more seller, more able to change. That means ES would increase. Okay, I don't want to waste your time here. Now finally, remember, when we talk about ED, elasticity of demand, we only talk about position, right? Now, but very funny, ES, it actually depends on 3 things. First, graphically, it depends on the slope. Second, it depends on X, Y intercepts. And third, it depends on the origin. Okay, now let's do it the right way this time. I teach you how to cheat first. Okay, remember, when we talk about perfectly inelastic, by definition it means P change, Q unchanged. Therefore, same vertical. So opposite, horizontal here. Now look at it. It looks like this. A vertical line is inelastic. The more clockwise it turns, the more elastic until it's a horizontal. 係咪啊? So you just need to remember, this guy inelastic, this guy elastic. So you just turn it this way to determine whether a curve elastic or inelastic. Okay, 係咪啊? The closer to vertical, the more inelastic. The closer to horizontal, more elastic. Okay, 得唔得? Now, one extreme case, unitarily elastic. Now this one I'm not going to waste your time. Whatever passes through the origin, they are all unitarily elastic. The important point is here, 0, 0. 只要穿過00嘅，全部都係 unitary elastic supply 啦。Okay, this is the way. Okay, now this section, I just want you to know more. If you don't understand what I'm talking about in this section, it's totally okay. All right, now let's do 2 comparison. Okay, now here, remember, the further the y-intercept, the more elastic. The further the x-intercept, the more inelastic. Okay, now let me give you some example. What I mean is that now I don't touch the slope here. Let's say we have 2 parallel supply curve, S1, S2. They are parallel. Okay, by looking at the y-intercept, we would know that, hey, actually this guy is more elastic because the y-intercept, its y-intercept is higher. Okay, 得唔得? Here, another example. Let's say we have 2 parallel curves, S3 and S4. Here, we will know S3 is the more elastic one comparing to S4. Okay, these two, we compare these two. Because the x-intercept of S3 is more elastic. Now, another thing you need to look at about the slope. 頭先講咗啦, the more vertical, 係咪啊? The more vertical, the less elastic. So, using 1 point only. Let's use here, same intercept but different slope. We call this S5. Comparing these two, S3 is still the more elastic. This is the less elastic one. Okay, these are only some examples of the graphical representation. But again, if you don't really get it, it's okay. You just use our legal way of cheating, rotating it clockwise. That should do the trick. Okay, 得唔得? Now finally, we are into some more examples and we are done with this chapter. Okay, now let's do it in sequence. Now first, when the supply of a commodity, of a good increases, as increases, you know, price would decrease. But we need price to rise. There can only be two situations. 係咪啊 We need to cancel this effect out. We either have demand increase or we have a supply decrease. That would cancel out this effect. Now, I don't know which one is correct. Okay, these are the two possible situations. Here, let's see. Perfectly inelastic. Perfectly elastic. Does it have anything to do? Does it have anything to do? 有冇啊? Anything to do with it? No, I don't think so. Nothing to do with it. Okay, nothing to do with it. Okay, now think about it. When demand is perfectly inelastic, what happens when supply increases? Price will decrease. Perfectly elastic, then nothing happens, right? I mean, nothing happens. Okay, 因為點解? By definition, P unchanged here. Okay, now C and D, remember, we need demand to increase. So, let's say, price of complement, we call it A, okay, decreases, resulting in higher quantity demanded for good A. If they are complement, then demand for my good would also increase. So this is the answer we want. C is the answer we want. Demand increases, matches our description here. Alright, now some more two-layer approaches. Consume less but more canned food. Okay, as a result, price of canned food changes by 50%. Quantity increases by 35%. So first layer, we know this is inelastic. Am I inelastic? Now second layer, we need to deal with this guy, price. Now it says more canned food, right? Canned food. So demand for canned food will actually increase. You guys think demand? When demand increases, price increase, quantity increases. This follows the law of supply. Therefore, we know that it is an inelastic supply because it is following the law of supply. Inelastic supply. Okay, now next question. Next one. Here, let's do it again. Price increases 5 to 8. That is a 60% change, right? Sales volume also increase by 10%. So first, we know this is an inelastic. Then it follows law of supply, right? Inelastic supply. Okay, so supply is elastic, not the answer we want. Demand, do you know? Is it following the law of demand? We actually do not know. Answer should be B here. Now, why not A? My answer, P 升 Q 升 But important thing is that other things, ceteris paribus, does not hold in this case. Something changed. Something changed, right? Stock market overheated, meaning income of people has increased. 原來有啲嘢啊，唔係其他因素保持不變啊。So in this case, actually, the law of demand becomes inapplicable. 因為有啲嘢冇變咗啊。Okay, it is only violated when P increase, Q increase, but other things remains constant. Okay, so this one not correct. Now, next one. Introduction of HDTV. Okay, more people choose to buy HDTV. Under what condition would price remains unchanged? Now, here it says more people buy HDTV, meaning demand for HDTV would increase. But funny enough, it says price remain unchanged when. In fact, the answer should be D here. by definition, perfectly elastic. Demand remains unchanged, right? Now, diagram will be like this. Supply perfectly elastic. Demand D1, D2. Do you see? Even with an increase in demand, price would still remain unchanged here. Okay, so D is the answer. All right, now let's see. A, income of consumer increases. This would further push demand up. Price would go up. Not the answer we want. Government cash subsidy. Again, basically the same as A. More income for the poor people. Price would go up. Not the answer we want. Demand is perfectly inelastic. No. Let's see how we draw C. C in diagram form would be like this. What happens? This is our supply. This is our demand one. Because right now, demand increases, it shifts to the right. D2. Okay? Look. Price would actually go up. Not the answer we want. Okay? So, answer D here. So, last page. Here, suppose with more popular use of iPod, the price of traditional has fallen and quantity sold changed by 50. So, let's write it out. P decreased by 40%. Okay, two-layer approach. Q changed by 50%. Now, first layer, we already know this is elastic. 好啦，問題就係啦 we need to deal with this guy. More popular use of iPod, meaning demand for iPod increases. What happens to demand of traditional MP3? Actually decreases because they are substitute relationship. Okay, now with demand decrease, actually this one will decrease. So they follow law of supply since they go in the same direction. So our second layer, this is elastic supply. C is the answer that we want. Okay, here, but this one we have looked at already. Okay, look at already. So let's not waste time here. Already look at it. Finally, during last Easter holiday, unstable political situation caused the price. Here, P falls 50%. Q changed by 70%. Okay, first layer, layer 1, we know this is elastic. Now layer 2, we need to deal with this guy. Change. How do we know how change? Unstable political situation, meaning demand for Thailand tourism would actually decrease. 好啦, when Thailand decreases, what happens to air ticket? Demand for air ticket would also decreases. Why? Because they are complement relationship. 我要去旅行，我要買機票㗎嘛。So they are used together, complement relationship. When demand for air ticket decreases, quantity also decreases. This follows the law of supply. Therefore, this is an elastic supply. Okay? So, finally, we are completely done with this chapter. Again, you see that this chapter is not exactly too difficult as long as you follow our steps. Remember the important thing we learned in this chapter. The first thing, remember, is a diagram. That midpoint, this is ED bigger than 1, ED smaller than 1. This is the important thing. Now second, remember the hardest part is actually concerning TE. Always tell yourself this very important equation. Okay, using this equation you can solve a lot of questions very easy. And the third point, our two layer analysis. okay, look at elastic versus inelastic. 係咪? Then second layer, follow law of supply or law of demand to determine whether it's elastic, inelastic, demand or supply. Okay, so if no further questions, I think that will be one of the last video for this term. Now, let me see whether I have time or not. Okay, I think I'm going to take a video on chapter 10 homework as soon as possible. Alright, so until then, I'm going to see you next time. Good luck to your final exam.